Welcome to the channel, and today we are going to be making prints of some gardens. Changing some of the settings just so it makes it easier and look more realistic, and also we don't have to look after the animals because this is going to be more garden focused. So we're going to move the whole entrance now. We're going to make a completely new entrance from scratch. So we're going to move the guest spawners and the entrance, and then the whole building and the paths will be removed. So we grab it all and it is deleted. We are just preparing the terrain where the building used to be and adding the grass back in. Now we're building what will be a road. Got to turn off the fence and the curb first, and it's going to come up from underground. I tried to line this up as much as I can, but it's no snapping point, so you can't really do that. You do prepare the terrain afterwards. I tried doing it with terrain, but obviously you can't because it's so close to the path, so we'll do it with construction concrete pieces in a minute. Just adding some coaches where we're going to hide the guest spawners in, so it looks like they just arrived from the coaches. I think I do actually remove that coach later. Concrete is going to cover up the gaps in the terrain and also make the most of the car park. We're going to recolour it to be as close as we can to the asphalt, but obviously it's not exact. So it's grey, not exact, but it should be good enough. So add it in a whole square like this. And then we go all the way to the edges of the road and right to the entrance of the tunnel, recolour the whole thing, and then we add some more concrete. On the other side of the road, just to hide the gaps and make sure that it is all covered. And you can't rotate it on all axes, so we have to get another concrete piece, which is what I'm doing here. We need to copy it and slide it all the way down the slope, and also we need to make it flush with the road. Get it completely flush, but it should be alright. Drop it down there to as close as possible to the height it needs to be at. And now we're just going down the slope. we do hide some of soil bit on the walls as well. The whole aim for this series is to make some gardens with butterflies, peacocks, and hopefully some flamingos. They can go to the side, but they don't, for some reason they ain't copy flush, so you have to drop them back down. Then we'll do it on the other side, and then we'll recolour it. Sliding them across, adjusting the height, and recolouring it. So there we go, same colour. And now we're just going to fill in those tiny gaps between the two slopes. We will change the bit of grass by the concrete so it doesn't go through the concrete. That will probably be in the next episode. So now we're just filling in the car park with the concrete, and then we'll recolour afterwards. So right in a square, and then on that we will put the coaches to again try and make the illusion that the coaches are dropping off the guests instead of them just coming out of a random building. They'd have to do it as two different buildings so they would line up, but I think it looks alright. I had some trouble getting it even as well, but I did manage to do that in the end. So here we are adding the coaches. We're spinning them around so that the doors face what will be the main building. Make a pavement out of the concrete. Again, the guest one is now into the coaches. I had some trouble with the snapping, but I did manage to do it in the end. I was trying to add null paths to this whole area, but the problem was the concrete was too high, so it just looked like they were walking through like mud and stuff. So I did change that, and it's now a raised path. I think we do change the material of the path so we get a nicer curve in the next episode. So this is the very first episode of the series and the very first episode of the channel. I hope you like it. There will be a new episode coming out every week, depends how this episode goes. adding some bollards to hide those dots where the two types of path collide. Please like and subscribe to help grow the channel, and so I can make this a weekly thing. Bye. Hello, welcome back to Planet Zoo. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to the series where we are making a series of gardens. Today we're going to work on the entrance, and let's get right into it. So we're removing the long grass which was poking through the concrete here. And we're doing it on the sides as well. I'm extending the pavement here so it goes right to the edge of a path, and then I'm going to start on the building. So this is going to be the main floor of the building, which is raised by 4 meters off the ground. Just laying it all out here to outline the building. I'm adding pieces of wool which is underneath the floor, which acts as stilts, using Australian wood for this. I'm now building the wall with stone, which I think nicely contrasts to the Australian wood. The floor does look quite bad, so I do change that in the next episode. And then we're gonna add some stone arches to make this look old and like it was here before everything else. Had some trouble trying to get that to line up because it wouldn't snap, but I just did it with the Control X tool in the end. Just adding the bottom of all the arches to every single one here. And now we're going to start adding a path so the guests can walk here. It does not matter which path I use at this point because of the floor is hiding it, but I do change it in the next episode to have the path as the floor and no separate floor. Had some trouble with the snapping, but that was just because of I had not selected snap to grid. I'm changing the path here to concrete on the pavement so I get a nicer curb and stairs. Had some trouble trying to get the 2 grids to line up before. With stairs now, I think it helps give a finished look to the building, but it's hard to not get them look wonky. I tried to make them as big as possible, so least chance of this happening. Now adding the roof, I decided to go with this nice green one. We're having a bit of opening at the front to add some character to the roof. Now we're adding an opening in the wall for the entrance and exit. Adding ATMs and vending machines. I'm now removing the floor like I said I would do earlier. The pillars at the bottom of the arches didn't quite go to the bottom of the floor, so I'm just adjusting that now. Fence for the queue. Just changing it because I thought it went too close to the wall, especially if people were going to queue to use those vending machines. Adding an opening in the path for a information centre to look like there's actually someone there for them to buy the tickets off, instead of there just being some random doors. Now adding the entrance, but I had some trouble with the path working. Wall was interfering with the grid. Managed to fix it by putting path around it and then removing it. I then changed the exit place to be on the left of the building from this direction and right from the entrance, so that it would align properly with how I'd done the entrances to the gardens. Just finishing off the roof now. I left it open so we could work easier with it while the roof was off, and then we can add it later, so easier to add all the furnishings of the building. Adding little bits of wool to the sides of the roof. Wrong bit of wood in there, so I just changed it. Using Australian wood like at the bottom of the building. Again here. Just filling in these tiny gaps here as well. And up front. There is a bit which pokes through the top, as you just saw there, but I think it was alright. Because of these gaps, I did try an experiment with adding the floor back, but I changed the material of it in the next episode. But I do keep it because it's not too high above the path like it was earlier. Expect weekly videos of this series. Like and subscribe. Bye. Welcome to Planet Zoo, welcome back to the channel, and today we're continuing the series where we are building a series of gardens in Planet Zoo. Just changing out the floor here because I thought that type of floor was a bit too harsh to the eye, and I find this floor which I'm replacing it with here much more aesthetically pleasing. I had some trouble getting it through the roof of the building, but I managed to do it in the end. I'm now using the art pieces to add lines to the roads so it looks like there's actual markings. I think it helps bring the whole build together a lot more than it was before. I'm adding concrete pieces here just so it's all flat and doesn't look too wobbly. I tried to get it in the centre as much as possible, but the road was slightly curved, so it wasn't completely possible. I started with yellow first, but I decided to change to white in a minute. I think the white helps blend in with the curb a lot better, and it just feels like it's better placed here. I'm now adding it to outline the bays of the coaches. We're using multi-select tool to copy and paste multiple of these markings at one time to make it much quicker. I'm now using the same tool to extend the lines to make it look more different to the turning piece. I'm now making them more spaced out. I noticed these guest spawners were showing through the surface of a road, so to hide that I tried to drop it down, but it didn't really work. I was just trying to find something here to decorate the wall of the entrance. I'm adding fencing. this is a pattern I decided to go with for the wall to decorate it. I think it helps bring the whole build together. I'm just adding letters here to spell the word welcome. This also helps bring the build together and makes it seem a lot more realistic, instead of there just being a massive blank wall. I'm now adding exit and entrance signs. I'm now adding planters to the pavement to help bring the place together and add some colour. The first actual flowers we have placed in this series, and since it is a garden series, that is kind of surprising, but I wanted to get this entrance looking just right. Don't worry, we do start on the actual gardens next episode. I'm now adding trees to help hide the tunnel so it blends in with the natural environment and outside. I added these nettles because this build is completely set somewhere in England, and these are a very prominent plant and annoying plant in England. I think it helps add to the surface of the grass. I probably should have rotated it. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, bye. Welcome back to Planet Zoom, welcome back to the series where we are making some gardens. Today we're finally going to start on the gardens. I'm just extending the path outside the building here. I made sure to do a gentle slope so it was wheelchair friendly, although there are stairs on the other entrance, so I'm not quite sure how much that works. I extended the path a bit too far than I wanted to at this point, so I just deleted it. I then repaired the terrain with the terrain tools. Today we're going to start on the walled gardens. This is going to go off here, and it's going to make a series of squares where each empty box is going to be filled with flowers. It took a while to choose the path, but I decided to go with this one in the end. And I made sure to have the curb turned on. I'm just counting the units here to make sure it's a complete square. I'm just basically laying out the basics for where the plants are going to be. The whole of the walled gardens is going to be covered in one hedge, which goes all the way around. I'm just adding the hedge now. It was a bit too short, so I decided to double it up with 2 hedges on top of each other. I'm adding the archway now. Using the multi-select tool to extend the wall right up to be flush with the wall of the entrance. On this episode, I experimented with using another editing software. However, it's, as you can see, I'm not using it again. Basically, the FPS was completely awful. So I'll just explain what I was doing. I was adding different bits of plants coming out the hedge to act as if it was slightly overgrown and make it more look like a shrubbery. I then added trees to line one of the paths and basically just extended the hedge all the way around. I'm now adding flowers and a tree in one of the squares and using this classic nature scene to go around one of the walkways. I filled in that square with pink flowers and a pink fountain. The pink fountain was a blueprint, as were the archway, but I just felt it was fitting for this garden. I now went back to the other recording software and our FPS is back to normal. I'm just going around showing you what I have done with the recording software which did not work. I'm now just changing some of the trees by the entrance because some of them I didn't feel fitted in with different greens. I'm adding ivy to the wall here to make it look like the building has been here for a long time. I'm now adding these plants to the square. I'm adding these nice purple plants to the square as well to help bring some colour to the otherwise completely green square. I'm adding this other blueprint, but what I'm doing is I'm just dropping it down so that it doesn't look like it was built and it just is some plants and rocks surrounding a tree. I'm now removing the bits of wall on the side so there's nothing poking through the terrain. I was just looking in the habitats tab just to see what trees were there, but there wasn't much choice, so I went back to a nature tab. I'm now adding these small bushes to help fill the area. I'm now adding brambles to this side to help give the overgrown look like what the ivy was doing. I'm now adding rocks to help bring the whole piece together. I'm now adding more of those purple flowers to fill them in because I felt they were a bit too spaced out. I'm now duplicating that blueprint of the archway again, just so it looks more symmetrical. I'm now adding Japanese maple to this section of the garden and then lining that side with more Japanese maples. I'm using the Alpine Sea Holly from that blueprint and rose to help bring a organised look to the build, which I think helps bring it together. It makes it look like it was all planted together. I'm now just extending them to go up to the tree. Although I admit it does look a bit too organised and planted in rows, I do think the flowers give a nice effect. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Welcome back to Planet Zoo and welcome back to the channel. Today we're continuing a series where we're making a series of gardens. Today we're going to finish the walled gardens. So to start off, we're going to fill in this square right here, and starting off with 2 oak trees. We're now gonna fill it with these bushes, which are gonna surround the square. I thought they looked a bit too uniform, so I decided to start rotating them so they looked a bit more irregular. I'm now adding these bushes here to fill in some of the space. I think it helps subtly add some colour to the square. These bushes are going to surround the tree. Now adding in some brambles. These brambles are going to surround the tree, and I'm using the multi-select tool to help me do this. I'm now basically going to replicate what I have just done to the other tree by using the multi-select tool and duplicating it all. I'm rearranging it slightly so it doesn't look exact, but I do want it to look kind of symmetrical. I'm now adding these 2 trees to the other path to add more to the symmetrical aspect of it and to help bring that path together. I'm now using the terrain tool to start building a pond. I'm now flattening the terrain and using the push tool to expand the corners. I filled it with water and I'm just having a look at what the different water settings are. I change it later. I'm now adding concrete pieces to add the edges of the pond to help with a modern and organised, built-up look to the pond. I'm just exploring the different construction pieces I could use for the sides, but I decided to go with concrete pieces. I had to do them as all separate buildings so it wouldn't snap to the wrong place. I'm just using the Ctrl X tool to make sure it is in the correct place, and I'm now gonna copy it to the other side after I've recolored it. I'm just adjusting the location of the concrete so it goes right to the edge of the soil at the bottom and at the top. I'm now just adjusting it on this side after copying it. As you can see on the other one, there was a bit of a gap from the top, so I add some more concrete pieces to try and hide it. I'm just dropping it down so it goes flush with the base of the pond. I'm now trying to hide the rock and sand by the concrete as much as possible so it just looks like there's grass going into it. I'm now copying the concrete piece over to the other side of the pond. And adding another one to hide the bottom. These pieces didn't exactly line up symmetrically with the two sides, so that's what I'm just adjusting now. Now adding it to the other side. And dropping it down. I'm just removing the long grass poking through the path so it doesn't look too overgrown. I'm now hiding the sand and rock on the side of the concrete to try and make it, again, go into the concrete. I'm now adding concrete base of the pond. just adjusting the height to make sure it goes flush with no dirt coming through. Had to adjust a height on each individual one because of it was overlapping with the concrete on the side here. Now we're changing the colour to be the same as the side concrete, and I'm going to move it so there is no, again, soil coming through. Adjusting the colour again. Now changing the watercolour to look as good as it can. I experimented with bubbles, but I put them on almost zero in the end, while still having some. I'm now adding these plant pots, so look like just a tray at the bottom of the pond where the soil is for the lily pads and other water plants. I think it adds a nice effect of character to the pond. I'm using all different sizes for the different pots or trays. I tried looking at the bigger lily pads, but I decided against it because there was no stems coming down from them. Stems don't go all the way down to the soil, but it's not that noticeable. I'm now adding these underwater bushes to the soil and these plants which float on the top with the lily pads. Now we're going to fill in the other area. I was looking at using some blueprints for this, but I didn't in the end, and I decided to make my own with rocks. I'm using the mossy rock variant, and I'm just using loads of different sizes to just an established look to square. I also used the other mossy variant of the rock on some of the rocks. As you can see there's some stone showing through. I added that arch there. And I added a tree to bring some, again, character to this section of the walled garden. I'm adding these bushes to fill in the space around the rock. I think it helps bring all these rocks and trees together. I'm now filling in those where the two pieces of concrete overlapped with different aquatic rocks. I think it helps hide our crimes, basically. I'm now going to start on the other section. I experimented with using the branches as roots for the tree, but it didn't really work. So I decided just to make this tree how it was intended to. As you can see, I had the blueprint there for guidance. Now adding these grey rocks to contrast against the other rocks on the other side and to fill in the space. Now adding the same bushes as on the other section of the walled gardens to help have it symmetrical but also having its own thing. I'm now going to complete the edge of the walled gardens with the multi-select tool. And there you go, the complete walled gardens. See you next week for another Planet Zoo video in this series. Like and subscribe. Bye. Hello, welcome back to Planet Zoo, welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to the series where we are making a series of gardens. It's a bit of a different video today. We're going to have a bit of a reflection on what we've done so far in the series. And we'll get back to building the gardens properly next week. First, we're going to have a tour of what we've done so far using the cinematic camera. So just walking into the entrance now and going into the gardens. As you can see, the vending machines and ATMs we've just gone past. And then the information centre kiosk is there, so there's not just some random barriers, and there is actually someone there you can speak to. We're going to go down the slope and into the walled gardens. I'm very happy with what we've done with this, and I think it's turned out very well, especially when you look at it from the bottom angles. So this is the fountain, and those were some purple flowers by the maple tree. We're just going to go through this arch here. This is actually a blueprint. I wouldn't normally use blueprints, but I think it helps add some depth to the build. This is the pond we made last week, and to the right you can see the maple trees lining the pathway. We're now going to go through this arch. There's more trees here lining the pathway. These are more pink ones. And here are some yellow flowers. So very pleased with how these turned out. I think it gives a nice effect to that section of the gardens. Those purple flowers there are sea holly, but I think they're all planted in rows, but I think it gives a nice effect, so it doesn't just look like they're all just randomly planted. Some bushes to the left and some brambles, which helps give the look of the overgrown side of that building with the ivy. So I'm now just taking a screenshot so we can put it into Google Slides, and we're now going to make a plan of what the rest of the garden series is going to be, because at the moment I think it was a bit unknowing to what's going to happen next. Feel this episode is needed just to have a look and stop for a minute just to make sure it's all going alright. I'm just enlarging the image. I'm adding some squares and going to label what is going to be in each square. These are the walled gardens, obviously, and then that is the entrance there. The reason I'm doing a garden theme series is actually because I don't normally like landscaping in Planet Zoo, and I wanted to be able to know how to do that, and I wanted to expand my skills. That is the cafe and shop there. We're building that next episode and the one after, and then to the right of it is the meadow. This is going to be filled with all sorts of different types of grass, and it's just going to be mainly an open field. At the bottom there is going to be a river, and this river is gonna meander a bit, and I think it helps give some character to it, and it's not just a blank river. We make that in about 3 or 4 episodes time, and then next to it is the forest, building down to the river. And then here is the cactus garden. That does slightly move later on because there is a square next to the walled gardens, which we make a butterfly garden. In next few episodes, it's going to be filled with the butterflies from the Grasslands DLC, and I think it helps add some character to the build, and also attracts guests because there's more animals. This is going to be the hill, and then orangery, which is just a glass greenhouse, normally in old estates, but it's going to be turned into a cafe. And there's going to be a lookout hut to the left of it, and we'll decide what's going to be in the general gardens later on. So this is the whole plan of what's going to happen. Hope you like the direction that this series is going to go, and is already going. See you next week for another episode. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye. Welcome back to Planet Zoo. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to a series where we are making a series of gardens. Today we're going to start on the cafe and shop, and then finish it next episode. I'm just experimenting with the different types of wood I am going to use for the cafe and shop. I go with this purple one, but then recolour it white just because I think it has a nice texture. I'm now just lining it up with the pavement. I was just counting for units there. I made it slightly too big, I thought, so I was just changing the size. The building is going to consist of 2 rooms, the main cafe, and then a shop to the right side. I recolour all the purple wood pieces to white in a minute. The whole of the front of the building is going to be made up of glass, and I'm just experimenting here with which one I should use for the door. I go with one with a big opening in the end. And then I use this nice patterned glass for the second layer of building pieces. For the roof, I'm just deciding what material I want to go with now. I end up going with a flat grey one. I'm just adding in this floor, but I remove it. This is the roof I end up going with, but later on in the episode we'll add an area of a roof which is made up of glass, so it's like a nice skylight showing through. I'm now adding in the path to a grid so the guests can walk there, and I chose this path because it has a nice pattern which you would normally see in like a picnic area in a place like this. I decided to go with asphalt for the outside just because I think it gives a nice realistic look to the outside of the cafe. I'm now just deciding what wall I will go with to separate the shop and the cafe, and I go with this bamboo one. I spent like 10 minutes looking for this one piece, and then I forgot to use it afterwards. It's the barrier. It was on the facilities tab rather than construction, which is why I couldn't find it. It's just so they don't walk between the two shops and cafe and through the wall, but you hide it in the wall. But I do that in the next episode because I actually forgot on this one. So if you look, I didn't even place it. I'm now just gonna add the main restaurant piece of the cafe, and I'm gonna put it in the top left corner. I'm just recolouring the wood now. I think the wood looks much nicer when it's white. It gives a nice modern look, which contrasts nicely to the entrance. I'm gonna add some shop fronts to the restaurant so you can see what's happening inside. Then I'm gonna use ZSH Plays idea where you use the stools in front of the restaurant to make it look like there's actually a place where you collect the food from, rather than it being tucked away around the side. I decided to go with Street Fox Coffee in the end for this one, and then for the second one I go with Cosmic Cow Ice Cream, just because I think these ones look nicer for it and more realistic for the collection, and then Mexlente in the middle. Now adding vending machines to the side of the cafe. This side's going to be more of a picnic area and less formal seating. I change that out next episode though. I'm now just adding in toilets for the guests. I'm just looking for a floor piece to hide the grass, and I decided to go with this wooden one, and then I use it here as well. In the next episode I'm going to use that piece to cover half of the building, just separate the picnic area and the restaurant area a bit more. I tried to use bins to cover up those grass gaps here, but it didn't really work, so I covered them up with rocks. I tried, if you look, I tried all different sizes of bins, but none of them worked. I'm just adding the rocks now. I'm adding sea holly just to cover up that small gap by that rock there. Now adding the restaurant tables, although I do change the layout of this next episode. I'm just adding them to the outside now. And just dotting them about here. I'm now adding these restaurant lamps to the side of the collection kiosk, but it was hard to place because of the heat map came on every time you try and place it. So they're not exactly lined up. I'm now adding picnic benches, which is I'm gonna change in the next episode to be a whole picnic area. I'm now adding the roof to the whole building. I'm gonna leave a small square here just to make a large roof skylight. I'm using the patterned glass again, but the roof version. I double it up just to make it slightly darker, so not too much light comes through. And there you go, the finished building. Hope you liked it. We're gonna continue working on this building next episode. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye. Welcome back to Planet Zoo, welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to a series where we are making a series of gardens. Today we're going to finish the cafe and shop. First, I'm going to copy this floor over to half of the building to separate the restaurant from a picnic area a bit more. I had some trouble doing this because we'd added the roof last episode, but I managed to do it in the end. Now I'm just changing the edge of this path to concrete because you could see some of the stone showing through. That caused some dots on the floor, which I was just hiding there with the tables. I'm now now just adding the tables to rows in the restaurant. I made sure to keep some tables outside. I'm now just linking the tables to the restaurant, but the ones on the outside were too far away, so I had to just bring them ever so slightly closer to the restaurant and just delete that extra table there. The ones in range, the number of them actually nicely matched to the amount I could attach anyway to a restaurant. So although there's 2 tables there which is never going to get anyone sat on, half of them are going to be like that anyway, so I don't think it'll be that noticeable. I'm now just adding picnic benches to this side of the building. I'm adding them to the outside here as well. I'm now just adding the barrier between the 2 buildings because I forgot to do that last episode. This is so the guests don't walk through the wall. Just making sure there's nothing showing through each side of the wall. I'm now just adding some bins to the picnic area. Adding some outside here as well, and by the vending machines. I was going to add some outside, but then I remembered we're not in franchise mode, and it would just ruin the look of the gardens, and we don't need it in sandbox mode. I'm now adding letters saying cafe to the outside of the cafe. I'm now adding letters saying shop to the outside of the shop. I think these letters help bring the whole building together. I'm just adding pay here. I'm gonna recolour some of the letters in a minute because I thought the white and the white was very hard to read. I'm now just removing some of the lamps because I think they were too close together, and also we don't need to hide the grass anymore. Now just hiding the sides of a toilet. I'm just trying to get it in the same building as the cafe and shop, so it would snap to the same grid, although there's still some grass showing through. I managed to hide that with by doubling up the walls. I'm now going to add letters saying men and women and toilet. I'm going to recolour them in a minute as well, because they're barely legible. I'm just recolouring pay here as well. I'm going to recolour shop and cafe because of, even though they're not directly on white, there is white showing through the glass, so it's not the easiest thing to read. Now adding the toilet logo to the toilets, the staff room logo to the cafe, and the information centre logo to the shop. I think all the logos fit what they need to, and even though they're not necessarily what they're meant for, I think it's fine. I'm now adding a sign saying welcome to Walled Gardens, but it didn't really fit, so I just changed it to Walled Gardens. I was just doing this to copy the canopy which comes out from a building. I'm going to add it to the shop and cafe. I was just looking to see if the modern canopy would look nice on the shop, but I decided against it. I'm now just adding some information centres and shops to act as the tills for the shop. So I'm adding information centre, pip shop water, just a memento, and Looney Balloons. I'm just filling in the grass with rock in hope that it would blend in better with the floor, and I think it does a bit. I was just seeing how these wheelbarrows would look, but I decided to add it to outside in the end. I'm now just assembling the bike. I'm not quite sure why it just doesn't come pre-assembled anyway, but this took a while. I was just browsing the blueprints to try and find anything which would look nice to go in the shop, but I didn't find much. So the shop's going to lay mostly unfurnished for now, and we're going to add in some more props when we have access to them, and Frontier finally add some more to the game. I just added those crates to the shop, and I'm adding this bear statue to the outside. I'm just adding this wooden ladder to try and act as shelves for the shop. Also adding these cardboard crates, which I'm going to fill with bananas. I'm just looking for any fence which would look nice as a queue fence, and I decided to go with this one. Then I used another fence with holes in here to try and act as more shelves, although I don't think it's that effective, but there's not much choice for decorating a shop in Planet Zoo at the moment. Thanks for watching this video, like and subscribe, see you next week for another video in the series, bye. Hello, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to Planet Zoo, and welcome back to a series where we are making a series of gardens. Today's a bit of a different episode. We're going to be working with terrain and adding some hills and a river at the bottom of the map. I'm just roughening the terrain up here. I'm just kind of experimenting with tools at the moment. I'm now just using the stamp tool to raise some terrain and then use that as kind of a guide to what height I want the maximum to be. I think this does turn out quite well in the end, and I'm quite proud of it. So if you remember back to the reflection episode where we made a map of what's coming next, I'm just making the hill in the centre of the map, and I'm going to make the river at the bottom. I'm just using the flatten tool to bring all the terrain up to the height which I want it to be. Looks kind of satisfying watching it back now on times 7 speed. I decided not to extend the hill this way because I don't want it to be too prominent. I'm now just roughening the terrain on the top to make it look a bit more natural. And I'm now just making a slope down to the ground level from the hill to blend it in with the rest of the map. Now just using the smooth tool and the push tool to add some more slope to the edge of a hill. While I am smoothing it is going to be quite a harsh hill, but that's kind of deliberate. I'm now just using the roughen tool on the top to roughen more of the terrain, and just filling in that tiny hole there with water. now just using the roughen tool on the slopes, try and make it look a bit more natural. I'm now just going to build a river at the bottom. I'm going to make this river meander a lot, and I'm just using the flatten tool to build the river itself. I'm using the maximum size because I want this to be quite a big river. Now just making it go bend around this tree, almost meandering. Now just smoothing the sides of the river. I think it gives a nice effect on the edge of a river to make it look a lot more natural. I'm just making this section of the river look like almost an oxbow lake, and it's gonna eventually cut off that meander and just go straight through. This is a natural process which rivers do. I'm now just gonna add some animals into the walled garden. I'm gonna add peafowls. This is going to attract guests, and we're going to get the first guests to the whole gardens at the end of this episode, so stick around for that. Just extend the null barrier just out a bit there. Because I'm in sandbox mode, I can just use a null barrier and they won't escape, because if you have animals escaping turned off, it all works fine. I'm just adding in the trade centre here, and I do add some more staff buildings there and connect it to the path with an old path later. I was just trying to get a rock to hide the gate here. I'm now just purchasing the peafowls now. There's no path to destination because the rock was blocking some of the path to the gate, so I just have to adjust it in a minute. Just moving it now. I'm now just adding the peafowl to the habitat. editing the staff sandbox settings now. I'm now just adding the rest of the staff buildings. Now just connecting the paths. This path, I don't like how the stone was coming out, so I just adjusted it so it was a 90-degree turn off the path. Although I don't actually need half these buildings because of the sandbox settings, I thought it would just be best to add them anyway. And here are our first guests. I'm really pleased with how this entrance turned out. Overall, this whole build is coming together quite nicely. This is what we've done today. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week for another episode. Like and subscribe. Bye. Hello, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to Planet Zoo, and welcome back to a series where we are making a series of gardens. I recently purchased the grasslands pack and I was just playing around with the butterflies here. Today we're going to build a butterfly garden and a butterfly house. I'm just laying out the scaffolding for the paths and the garden here. To the right of the path is going to be the cactus garden as planned in the reflection episode, and to the left is going to be the butterfly garden. I tried to make them as random as possible. Here I liked the sharp angle which the paths made when joining, so I then did that a few more times with other paths. I use the classic large building blueprint for the butterfly house, and I add the walkthrough exhibits into the inside of it. I'm just making the walls and path transparent here. So now just painting in the rest of the terrain in the butterfly house to be sand. Just making this butterfly house transparent walls as well. Just painting in the rest with sand. I'm just adding the butterflies from the exhibit I already had to that crew exhibit, and now I'm just purchasing the ones for the other walkthrough exhibit. There should be 4 of each species of butterfly in each exhibit. I'm just making the null path so people can walk inside of the butterfly house. Just connecting it to the path here. Now just adding in all the additional layout features to the exhibits. I tried to cover up the outside of this door, but it didn't really work. I didn't find anything which fit, so we're just going to imagine there's very transparent glass there. I'm now just adding in more exhibits, which I'm going to make transparent, and then these are just going to be butterflies flying in the distance. But these butterflies in those exhibits are going to be local to where these gardens are set. I'm now just making a palette for what plants we're going to use for the garden. I tried to go with pink and purple and orange, yellow and red. Now just making all the walls of the exhibits transparent. Now we're going to start on the gardens. So I'm just adding in this pink bush to some of the area, and then different variations of it as well. Now using this red bush to fill in this section of the garden, and I'm adding it to a few more sections as well. Just adding in a few trees, and I'm going to set myself a rule. I'm not going to add any more trees after this before the end of the video, so stick around to the end of the video to see if I do it. Just adding in these red purpley plants to the gardens. I'm just making this one in rows, similar to what we did in the walled gardens, to make it look like it was organised and planted. This is a bit of a weird episode because it's the first episode I have recorded the voiceover before I have recorded the next episode, so I'm as in the dark as to what we do in the next episode as you, but I presume we'll just be continuing the butterfly gardens because I didn't quite finish it by the end of this video. Just adding in these purple plants here, and just these pink bushes as well. Just using these Titan Arum. This is the only place I use them because I think they'll look a bit weird if I overuse them. Just adding in these small pink and purple flowers. I fill this whole area with them. I think this looks quite nice, especially when looking at it from the ground. Now just adding in these pinky orange flowers to this area. Just zoomed in slightly there so it was a bit more pixelated. Just using a range of different sizes of these flowers to fill the area. Now just adding in these pink bushes as well. Now just using these pink bushes over here to line this path here as well. Now just lining these flowers similar to what I did in the walled gardens and just earlier on, so in this episode as well. I think it gives a nice effect of it being planted and organised, like I said earlier. Also, it just helps fill the space because I was kind of running out of ideas of variation of what I can do. Now just adding in these red bushes to fill in the space here. And I'm also going to add them to fill in this space here as well. Using these pinky orange flowers again here, and variation in size as well. Adding these pink bushes again here because I think they get all these types of plants go well together. From low angle, I'm really pleased with how this garden's going along. So I spend ages on this area here, adding all different sizes of this one flower, and then I realised I could have just copied it from the other section of the garden and it would have been much quicker. But I kind of didn't realise that. So then I do copy this bit to another area in a minute as well once I've finished. This is on something like times 12 speed as well. It took like half an hour just to do this one section because I wanted to get it just looking perfect. Now adding these purpley red bushes to fill in this section of the gardens here as well now. Now just adding in the archways so you can get through the hedge. I had to delete them twice because of the way I had built this, so I had to delete each section twice. Looking through the archway, it looks really good. I think helps bring the gardens together and link them, but there's also differentiation between the hedge from the types of plants we're using and the style of the gardens. This is what I was talking about. I'm just copying the whole of that area again and again. I think it fills in this space really well. I didn't place another tree, which is good. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and catch the episode next week where I might be continuing these gardens. Bye. Hello, welcome back to Planet Zoo, welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to a series where we are making a series of gardens. I'm just having a look what we did last episode here. So I'm just using the camera feature to walk on the paths and get a real first person view of what it will look like walking through these gardens. I'm really proud of how this has turned out, and I think the plants spreading onto a path give a nice established feel to the gardens. I love the way how the sun shines through the trees there. I love the game. I think the game does a very nice job of simulating what it would look like in reality. So in this episode, obviously these gardens aren't finished, so we're going to aim to finish them in this episode, although in the next episode we will have to do a tiny bit more on them, but hopefully not that much, and hopefully it won't take the whole episode. So I'm going to go into the butterfly house here and explore it and then get to building. Just thought it was necessary to have a bit of reflection on what we've done so far, and I think it was good showcase of how this build has turned out, especially these butterfly gardens. Although this is a blueprint, I do feel that it brings the whole build together and has a centerpiece for the butterfly garden. So, just in the butterfly house now, as you can see, there was a butterfly on that lady's hand. I'm just looking at the butterflies here. The camera does freeze for a bit here, but it fixes itself. I'm not quite sure what happened there. I tried my best to edit it out, but it's still a bit of lagginess in there. This episode does have the most footage out of any episode I've ever done for this series before, because I was really trying hard to complete the butterfly garden, but I did decide eventually, because all this is on times 7 speed, that I will finish it next episode, and maybe I was cramming a bit too much into this episode. I'm just working on the piece of garden outside of the butterfly house here, just adding in these butterfly bushes and scattering them around. Now adding in these purple plants. I think it goes well with the pink, and so does this blue I'm adding now. I was looking for any more orange plants, but I didn't manage to find any which would look nice in the garden, so decided against it in the end. I'm now just gonna fill this space completely with these red plant bush kind of things, similar to what we've done in other sections. I think it helps be a nice filler to what's happened to that square. Now just removing some of the plants underneath the hedge, but leaving some in just to give it a slightly established look. Now just trying to hide some of the terrain scars by the walkthrough exhibits, and I'm now just extending the path here. I was trying to add a narrow turn into the path here, but it didn't really work, so I just decided to bring two paths close together and join them with one section of path. This butterfly exhibit, I will make it so you can walk through, but what this does mean is there is a small section of path which is completely straight, but I think I managed to hide it pretty well. Most of them are just going to be off in the distance, and all the butterflies outside are just going to be two species of butterfly, which are more European, so that doesn't look like there's too many tropical species. I was just adding in the red flowers there in rows, just to add a filler. And same here. I was kind of running out of ideas of what to do, but I do some more intricate designs for the sections in the centre of path later on in the episode. I'm just adding the tree there to fill it in a bit. I'm just trying to replicate similar to what I've done in other sections of the garden here, but it was hard to work with because it was quite a narrow gap. Now just adding in some trees here, and I'm going to add in these purple flowers in straight rows here. I think it goes nicely with the pink flowers to the left of it here. There is a variation in the gaps between some of the rows, but I think that gives helps give a look that it's not exact and there is human error in it. Just adding in these red filler plants to that small section there as well. Now just adding in the butterfly bushes again. I'm now just looking which species of butterfly will fit in the place where this garden is set in Europe. I went with the European peacock and the old world swallow in the end. For some reason, when I added them to the exhibits, even though I'd already changed all the walls to transparent, it changed them back, so I have to change them all back in a minute again. I was just seeing if I could turn any of those things off, but you can't, and I didn't think it really matters that much because they're all in a different orientation anyway. There's going to be plants surrounding it as well. Just adding a path around that one there as well. Just trying to hide the join of these two paths here, but it is I couldn't really do it that much because there is a straight line and you can't really hide it, so adding in all these different flowers to this section of the garden here. Now just adding in these blue flowers. Now just adding in these yellow trees here. I think it helps bring the whole build together. Just adding in these pink flowers here as well. I think it helps hide the pieces of scenery in the butterfly exhibit. Just adding in these red bushes here as well. In the next episode, where the palace is, that's where I'm going to fill in. And also I'm going to add the archways between the two gardens as well. Just adding some plants here as well. I was just seeing then, when you zoom out, that some of the plants disappear, but it's not the end of the world, because most of the time we'll be looking at it is from first person view anyway. Just trying to get all these flowers to nicely go with the outline of the building. Just adding some trees here. Adding some plants there. And just trying to hide some of this, but I will work on this at the next episode. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe. Bye. See you next week for another episode. Hello, welcome back to Pantsy, welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to the series where we are making a series of gardens. I'm really pleased with how these gardens turned out last week, and today we're going to be putting the finishing touches onto the gardens and having a look how it looks from a first person view, because in my opinion this is the most important view. Just in the butterfly house now, you can see some butterflies up high. I really like how this turned out last week, and I'm very pleased with it. Some of these plants here are actually floating, but don't worry, we do sort that out later in the episode. Plants there are floating as well. I love how the sun shines through the trees there. I think it helps bring the whole build together and it just looks really nice. You can see some of the butterflies here. This is one of the invisible walkthrough exhibits, and you can see some of them on the butterfly house kind of things there. I really like how this has turned out with the walker exhibits and they're just being butterflies flying around. Sun shining through that tree there looks really nice. Some butterfly flying there, as you, hopefully you just saw it. So we're gonna extend the path this way, just a bit, and then what we're gonna do is extend the gardens down by the pallet used to be. I did say this in the last episode, but I think it sounded a bit like palace, so just to clarify, I did mean pallet. I'm just adding these red filler bushes here to fill in this area. We use a range of different plants for the finished piece. Just moving some of the butterfly bushes here to help fill in this area. Just adding these pinky orange flowers as well. King Proteas. I'm now just adding in these trees to act as a border between the rest of the gardens and the outside. Just adding in these purple red bushes. Now I'm adding pink flowers. Just having a look from the first person view there just to make sure it looks nice from where the guests will see it from. Just adding in these big purpley pink bushes here. I'm now adding in these purple flowers here to help fill in and give a backdrop for the flowers so it's not just bare grass. Just moving some of the plants so they fit nicer with the garden. Now just extending the trees to go all the way around to this section of the garden. Now we're going to add these bushes all the way around to border this section of the garden. And in fact they're going to border the whole garden. Just moving them to go smoother onto the rest of this path. And I'm now moving them here as well. I rotate them each time just to make it look a bit more random, but obviously it can't be helped because we only have a limited number of models in the game, and I thought it would just be quicker just to use the same one but rotate it, because this took a while. I think it helps define where the garden is though, and so you're not just looking at a field to the left and loads of flowers to the right, and it gives a nice border to where the edge of the garden is. I really don't think you can tell that they're the same model of bushes. This is what I was talking about, the plants floating, so this is where I'm just correcting it now. just using the multi-select tool to do them all at once, so they'll all be the same height, although I do forget some plants, so then I go back and do them. I really do like how the bushes border the garden. And I like how this section of the garden turned out as well. It's really nice how these gardens turned out, and I'm really proud of it. I think it looks amazing, even better when you change it to sunset. So now I'm just going to adjust our plans for the series and correct some of the plans. So I'm shrinking the hill because I don't think the hill needs to be that big. And then I'm adding the butterfly gardens in. So the cactus gardens is what we'll be making in either the next episode or the episode after, but definitely very soon. That is going to be the next big project. I'm just adding in more general gardens to the rest, so there's more space for where flowers and stuff can be. I'm removing valley from the river because it's not going to be a valley, it's just going to be a river, and also we've already made it. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and join me next week for the next episode. Bye. Hello, welcome back to Planet Zoo, welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to a series where we are making a series of gardens. So, you might have seen intro there. I just thought it would be a good idea to show you what we're doing this episode and what's going to be coming up. So I'm just removing the path here because I'm gonna edit the terrain so it's more rough and hilly, because the flat terrain was a bit boring, and then later I change it all to sand because today we're building the desert garden, or the cactus garden. So I'm just making interesting shape here with the hills, and then I'm going to extend both these paths to cross over each other and then do a loop, but then there's going to be some other paths coming over. This path here I'm building is going to be like the less accessible path, because if you look, it goes quite steeply over that hill, and then this one, really accessible, it goes around the other side and meets up with that path there. Then I'm going to have some more flat paths going around as well. I do change these paths out in a minute to be sand paths rather than this material which I've got going on at the moment. I'm just using the fine sand to paint over the terrain, where I do blend some rough sand and soil in later using the option where it isn't 100% intensity, so it kind of like is a nice mix instead of just being one. So here I'm just going in with a rough sand on intensity 20%, and then just trying to blend it in so it doesn't just all look the same material. Here I'm just, like I said, I'm changing out the path to be sand because it's a desert garden, and this path I've got currently didn't really look for peace, so I'm just adding the more accessible path which goes around this side. I do extend the whole sand area later in a minute because I thought it was a bit small, and then in the next episode we're going to put animals in here, and there's going to be another surprise in that episode. So here's just the path going to the other side of the desert garden, because the idea is you can walk through to get to another area of the gardens, which will be there. But by the end of the series I want all the areas filled with something, so it is going to be a long series. I'm just making a palette here of all the different pieces of grass, cacti, moss and trees I want to use, all the plants basically. And then here I'm just adding like this Jeep prop to bring some character to the garden. I'm now adding all the different sizes of cacti and dotted around the garden, although I'm focusing on this side first. I'm using these small ones as well and rotating them each time so they don't look too similar. It's hard to make them look random and not identical, especially when there's only like barely any versions of each plant in the game, but we manage. I'm now just blending in some soil with 10% intensity because I didn't want it to go too dark, although I did still think it was currently a bit too light, and I think I really like the effect that it leaves. I'm now just adding these more bushier cacti around the garden. And then I'm using this pattern I made with the small ones, and then I'm going to place it in different places in the garden. Now using this moss, I think it looks like a nice filler and maybe just like dirt or leaves or something. It's not supposed to really look like moss because that's not what you would get here, but I think it gives a nice effect. Now adding all these different types of grass. I just searched for biome desert on the nature, and I think it works fine with finding the correct plants. Although I still do use the palette later. Now adding all the different sizes of this certain plant, and then I'm going to copy and paste them to other areas of the garden in a minute. So I'm just using these bushier pieces of grass here. They look like they have kind of like red berries almost in them. I like how they look. And I'm using these yellow grass as well. Keep zooming out to see how it looks from the top, even though like the most important view is first person view and how people will be walking around. I am very conscious of how it looks from the top, so that's why I kept zooming out. Now adding more of these different grass around, and I just added some trees as well. So this is the small grass I was talking about copying around the garden. From first person view, I think this looks amazing, especially with all like the raised terrain. So the inspiration from this whole garden kind of came from many different cacti gardens, but in particular one from Fuerteventura. It's one in the Oasis Wildlife Park there. I'm now just going to add a rock kind of sculpture just to add some character to the hill, so it's not just bland. Keep using that word character, but I do believe it does add character. I got this blueprint from the African entrance, where I delete all the entrance pieces. I'm just going to use it for the kind of archway to the this side of the cacti garden. I'm just editing the wall so you can walk all the way through it, and then adding the path. So this is what we got so far, and it contrasts nicely to that butterfly garden we got here, especially on the hill. And then I'm adding these dead bushes here to fill in the space. and there'll just be these greeny dead bushes and more moss and more cacti. I was thinking this base looks a bit bare, so I was trying my best to fill it in without it looking too filled, because it is a cacti garden supposed to be set in the desert, and there's loads of space between each plant in the desert, so I was trying to make it look a bit bare. And I think what we do accomplish eventually, the result is quite good. Just adding some more trees, and then I'm going to add these bushes to line the whole garden. I rotate them each time, similar to what I did with the butterfly garden with that butterfly bush. I just think it helps add a border to where the garden begins and ends. Help them flow into each other, all the different gardens. Yeah, I think it looks really good when you go around it from a first person view like that. And then obviously I'm going to fill in this big space between the path and those bushes. So before that, I just noticed these plants I copied and pasted were not the right height at all, so I had to go through individually and correct the height. Looking back, I probably could have just selected move and then I clicked V for it to align to the floor, but I wasn't that smart, so I did it all with the Ctrl X tool. Each individual piece of grass, it was because of I copied and pasted it from a hill, and then that's a fairly flat piece of land there, so I'm just adding the cacti here to the empty bit at the moment, and all adding the different sizes of cacti, and then this little pattern I made earlier with this tiny peat ones, and obviously more moss, and more of this pattern, and these dead bushes. So this is what it looks like now with the sunset, and we're gonna go around it, do a little tour of what we've done. So I think this looks so good and contrasts so nicely to what's on the left, the butterfly garden, especially in the sunset. It just looks so good. And then all the cactus around us, and then you can go on all the different paths here, because I made quite a few. And then this is the steep one, and then we go down here, and that's what it looks like from the entrance. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, it really helps to grow the channel, and I'll see you next week for another episode. Bye. Hello, welcome to Planet Zoo. Welcome to my channel, and welcome to the series where we're making a series of gardens. So we're just looking at the desert garden which we completed last episode here, and just removing the hedges from this hedge here, because I forgot to do that I think like 4 episodes ago, which joined the walled garden to a butterfly garden, because currently the people were just walking through the hedge. So what we're doing today, we're going to build a cable car, or suspended gondola as the game calls it, from the bottom of the hill right by the entrance to the top of the hill right here where we're building it now. The track goes like 90 degrees left first, and then is basically as sharp as turn as it can get, and then starts the gradual decline. I did want the decline to be not that steep, so I went with very gradual, but as you can see here, we went a bit too low originally and almost into the ground, and if we're going to have a station here, that is not very good, so I had to delete some track and bend it the correct way, and then make it so it didn't go back up like it was doing there. And then line up, and then it was still not enough, as you can see here. So I had to go back even further and then start flattening it first. So as you can see, I was just testing the height there and it worked. So I then went with that height, lined it up and turned it 90 degrees, and then I have the station. So then I wanted to make a station the same length as one up there, so I had to go back into the station builder and then make the track which goes back up to the top. Obviously I wouldn't do this by hand, I just use the autocomplete tool because it's much easier. And now you see me just recolouring it. I went with this dark red to go with some of those plants we used in Butterfly Garden, as you can see in the background, and then a nice purple for the track. And then the carriage had some pink on it as well. I'm now just making the entrance and exit for the lower station. I'm not quite sure why it called it Station 7, because it is the first station, so we haven't built any other rides in this map or game, so I'm not quite sure why. And here I'm just making a cut in the wall for the exit of the entrance, where you can go and into the entrance of the cable car, although this path will also join up to the big path which goes all the way through the Butterfly Garden. And next episode we're going to be building a garden centre right in that kind of triangular area to the left of the asphalt path and to the right of the hedge by the walled gardens. So I'm just connecting the queue here. I don't make it that long because, to be honest, I don't think this is going to be that popular. And if it is, then I can always just add more cars to the cable car. And here I was just expanding the stone wall down so you can't see the decals on the side of the wall from the outside. And then I was just enclosing this piece of a roof which went up and with loads of wooden pieces showing through, so I made it so that they would come down and they weren't showing through, and this was kind of annoying because I had to keep moving the camera so I could see it and that they would go, because I had quite a lot of trouble with getting them. And in fact, I did give up at some point, and then I had to go back because it just didn't look right and I couldn't leave it like that. So that's later in the episode. Now I'm just gonna set up the upper station for the cable car. There's nothing gonna be up here, so the path's just gonna go to nothing, but I just wanted to set it up so it would be working. And then I'm just gonna change the loading rules so it's any load, so that the cars will go even if they're empty. And then I change this in the other station as well. So just opening it and making there be enough carriages or cars. I was looking what shuttle mode was, but then that would only limit us to one car, which I went on continuous loop. And then this is what it looks like from a view of the car. I think this looks very good, especially lower down the hill. As you can see through the glass a bit of the Butterfly Garden, the walled garden, and even the cacti garden in the distance. It looks so cool, especially when this whole area will be filled eventually. I think it's gonna look great. So then you go down here and then you can see the whole Butterfly Garden to the left, and the walled garden and the little pond in the walled garden as well. And then you can also see all the people walking about, which I think is so cool. I chose not to connect these two paths up to the exit on the walled garden, the two right hand side ones, just because I don't think that it would be that necessary. And now I'm just looking at the animals I can add to the desert garden, because we didn't actually add any animals and I wanted it to be fairly popular. I'm just gonna make the barrier here, and then I'm gonna extend it all the way around the desert garden. It doesn't need to be that exact because it's going to be invisible anyway, and because we got the franchise settings on, they won't be able to escape. So I'm just deleting the palette which was left from last episode. And then this is what I was talking about, the filling in of the roof of the entrance. So now add the emu, gemsbok and armadillo into the desert garden. I forgot to connect the path, which is why it said no path to destination, which I'm just doing here. And then in a minute they will come. Here they are. So here's the janitor carrying the box, and what's inside? An emu. So there's going to be 4 of each species in here, and we're mainly just here to attract the guests to the desert or cacti garden. I think they look really good, especially how they just wander about. But they do say that one of them is injured, and I turned animals injured off on the franchise settings. I'm not quite sure why that is, but hopefully it's fixed by next episode. See, there's the injured one in the vet. I was just checking the settings here to make sure that injured was off, but it is, so I'm not quite sure why that is. And then these people are just running on the staff area for some reason. And then I got an alert saying there's no donation boxes, but given this is a franchise zoo, I didn't really mind, and to be honest, they're quite ugly. So thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe, it really does help grow the channel, and so I can share more videos like this to you every Saturday. Thanks for watching, bye. Hello, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to Planet Zoo, and welcome back to the series where we are making a series of gardens. So I'm just extending the path here, and then I'm going to extend the path from the cable car to the main path, and then I'm going to make a layout of grid using this nice pale concrete path, which I think is quite realistic for something which we're building today, which is a garden centre kind of like thing, a whole outside thing. I know we already have a shop, but there wasn't any plants or anything, and I thought it would be a nice space filler for this little triangle between the path, the cable car and the walled gardens. This piece here is actually called like the African building base or something, but I think it was quite a realistic palette which you see in like garden centres like this, so I'm just copying it around and filling in the grids. I left a space by the main path so people will be more wanting to come into the garden centre. I know it doesn't actually work like that in the game, but that's like how I'm imagining it will work. And then I'm just copying it all around. Bit of a shorter episode today. I did manage to make it a bit longer because we got a cinematic at the end. I thought it was an ideal time because it's episode 15. See the whole thing we've done. Goes around the whole gardens. And what I'm just doing here is I'm adding the letters to the entrance saying garden centre, then I'm copying it around. I had a bit of trouble copying it because it was copying the palette, but I managed in the end. And then I'm gonna paste it on every single entrance, and then on the exit I'm gonna add garden centre exit, and then I'm gonna put the no entry signs which aren't actually called no entry, so they were hard to find, but I managed them in the end. And just using these little, I think they were butterfly sticks actually, as like small signs, make sure no one comes in that way. I know they will, because that's not how Planet Zoo works. And then I was just using that little pot there for where we can store the butterflies, because those are all going to be for sale. And then I'm going to use one of the kiosks, just a memento for the where you pay. I thought it was ideal because it had bags and stuff, and it could easily be a plant in my bag, even though it's not the same scale. I think it was the best option we had. And what I'm doing here, I'm just going to add all the different plant pots. I know they have soil in them, but those aren't going to have plants in, they're just going to be like for sale. And then I have the same plastic plant pot, which is like European, which I'm going to add all the different plants in on the other side of the garden centre. So just add in the last ones, and then this is what I was talking about. So this plastic pot, I was putting soil, dirt or mulch or whatever you want to call it inside, and then I was going to copy it around. It was a bit hard, but I managed to do it by saving it as a building, but then for some reason it wouldn't align to the height, so I had to do that manually, but I managed to do it. And then sometimes I deselected it, which meant I had to realign it to the height, like I was just doing there, but I think I only had to do that like 2 or 3 times. And then I'm just going to add it to all the different palettes, and then I'm going to add different varieties of plants on each kind of like row of palettes inside of the plant pots. So now I'm just gonna put them on the diagonal ones, and then I'm gonna leave 2 pallets left here for these sacks, which you can imagine is filled with like compost or something. And then I'm just gonna add some trees in the squares because I thought they were looking a bit bare. And then just adding these plants. Because they were building, I had to select each building individually, so I found a way around that by clicking control, but later on I just like triple clicked until it worked, because I just thought it was quicker. So as you can see here, that's what this white thing saying add to this group means, but I think it worked quite well, and it was a good alternative to using the control tool, because that was taking ages. As you can see, I was doing it quite quickly, although this is on times 16 speed, which the whole episode's actually on quite fast speed, because it's quite repetitive, and that's why it is slightly shorter than normal, because I thought it was going to be a bit boring if I left it on like times 7 speed or times 4 like I normally do. Those are the 2 speeds I normally use, but I chose to put it on times 16 because it did look quite boring when it was slowed down. It was just basically doing the same thing over and over again. But times 16 speed, I think, helps give you the insight of what we're doing while not being too fast, even though it is the maximum speed of my recording or editing software. I'm just adding these red plants here. We had them in the butterfly garden, but it was quite good to use them because then it'll be like we're selling the plants we're using. I was actually struggling to find plants which would fit in the plant pots because they were quite small, but there was only a few which the small variety of a plant actually fit, but I did manage to find enough, even though some of them looked a bit too big, but you can just imagine that they haven't been sold quickly enough and they've grown a bit too big, but I still think it looks alright. I'm just adding these like nice purple flowers here, which like are a bit like the butterfly bush we used in the butterfly garden, and I think that's like quite cool. And this is the last one. On this one, because I was clicking so fast, so it was copying some of them on top, and then this is what it looks like from a first person view. I think it looks quite cool. I was dropping frames when I was going around, so it is a bit blurry, but I do apologise for that. I've had to speed the footage up for it to work. But what I'm going to do now is go up here, and then that's where you get the cable car from. I'm just looking around, and I noticed here in the desert garden there was a lot of people, probably because of the animals are there. And then what I'm doing here is I'm got a cinematic, using the new cinematic camera tool. I am planning to release a video of how to use this tool later. But on my computer it was dropping a few frames and was a bit blurry, so I do apologise for that. I did have to speed this one up as well. I'm not quite sure what had happened because it wasn't doing it before. I think it might be because of the amount of props in the game or something. I am planning on upgrading my PC soon, so it should be fixed in a few episodes time, but I do apologise. And then through here and round here, and then did a quite cool animation where it zooms in on path here and then it zooms out. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, it really does help grow the channel, and I'll see you next week for another video. Bye. Hello, welcome back to Planet Zoo, and today we're making a group of greenhouses. So I just want to say a few things before we get into this. This whole episode was filmed virtually using video game streaming. I'm actually going to release a video on more detail on this later on the channel, but basically this gives a much better frame rate than what we were having at the end of last video, and I just wanted to show the same cinematic again in better quality. I mean, hopefully it's better. The frame rate's definitely better. I don't know about the quality itself because I was using different recording software because I was having to do it on a different device which didn't have Windows. It was a Chromebook, so I had to use a Chrome recording software, which I don't think was the best of qualities, but I think it might be better than what my PC was outputting anyway, so here's hoping. So what I'm just doing here is building a fence across the edge of the pavement so people can't get into the gardens without paying. I know they won't be able to do that in reality, but I thought it would just be a nice touch to make it all look more enclosed. So I'm just laying out the glass here for the first greenhouse. This is going to be 2 units wide, or 8 meters if you use the game's measuring system. So I'm just adding the slanted roof. I went with the lowest slant for this one. I didn't want it to be too tall of a roof, and then I'm just filling in the edge with the diagonal pieces. This is going to be the visitor greenhouse, and then I'm going to build 2 more which are going to be like staff ones, which is where they grow all the plants before they put them in the gardens, which you will be able to see from a path. I'm just building the first one here. This is going to be the smaller one of the 2. It's going to be 2 units high like the other one, or 4 or 8 meters. This one I decided to go for a curved roof just to be a bit different, and then like the rest is just going to be flat in the centre. But I thought it was quite cool, but I do definitely prefer the slanted roof. And then here's the big one. So I'm just building the edge of it here. I've decided to make it like an L shape just so make the roof a bit more interesting. I was just moving all the pieces forward there so they would line up with the grid, and I was just selecting them all and making them 3 units high. That timer you just saw there was because of the video game streaming platform I was using. It's just telling me how long I've got left on the rig, and I'm just gonna add the centre of the roof here. This one was more slanted than the first greenhouse we made, but not the most slanted, which the roof can be, because I thought that would be a bit too high. So I'm just adding the L bit of the roof here, and then I'm gonna work out how to link them all up, which was harder than it seemed. I ended up just like putting a flat piece of glass at the end of the pitch of a roof because it was going to end up being higher than the other one, so I kind of had to do that. And then I'm just bringing this down here and then using the pieces to make it like an L kind of shape. I keep clicking that search button on a Chromebook rather than caps lock, so that's why that thing keeps popping up. Keep nudging it instead of shift. I was just trying to move them all so they were in line, but multi-select tool wouldn't work, so I had to do them all individually, which took a while, but it still worked. And then I had to do it on the other side as well. This is what I was talking about. I'm just filling in with like a piece of flat roof, and then I'm filling in the open bit of this greenhouse here. So I'm just moving them all in, like I was saying, just to make it all in line and not so there was pieces poking out. And then I'm just building the roof section here as well, and then I had to move all these forward. I'm just filling in the floors here, and then what we do next is we build like a staff I build like a staff building, so it's gonna have all the staff buildings in, and then the idea is it's going to all replace the one which we've got by the Knoll Paths by the cafe. So this is going to be 2 units high, but I was just lining in the buildings first, so I'm just getting every single building in here just because I can. I don't really need it because it's in sandbox mode, but I wanted to make it look used, so I was just connecting it to the path by the greenhouse, and then I noticed the things were poking through the roof, so I decided to make it 2 units high. There we go, so I'm just selecting it all, and then I use multi-select tool and Control X and then up, and then I fill in the roof here. And then I'm just filling in the windows here, but then after that I lost a bit of footage because I was experimenting with different recording softwares on this new device, which I was using to record, but this one didn't work and it crashed without telling me, so it lost all the footage. But I'm just gonna fill in this greenhouse, and then with all the plants, and then it's the other 2 greenhouses you see me filling in which you miss, but then I'll show you around it anyway, so it'll be alright. I'm just getting the big planters, and then I'm gonna fill them with flowers and then other plants, but I'm gonna get one of the logs, the climbing ones from a habitat thing, and then I'm gonna hang pots from it because you do see some hanging pots in the nature panel. So I just found this one, and then I've used another one as well, this one here, and then I alternate them, and then I'm going to fill them in with the smaller plants, and then bigger versions of the same plant are going to be in the larger planters. But I do have a few different species of plant in this one, but I wanted to use similar ones for some of the planters. So I'm just filling in with these pinky red ones. They're the same as in the butterfly garden and the garden centre, and then those white kind of like bush things were also in the garden centre as well. And then I'm just using big plants and then small ones, bunching them together to add variety to what's in here. I was using the white plant, and I noticed I was slightly floating, but you can't really see it, so unless you like really look. So I just decided to go with it. I'm just adding more of these pinky red plants to those planters, and then on the left hand side I'm going to use another plant which I get in a minute. I was just putting that scenery piece there, and then these are the purple plants which I add to the planters. I was using variety again. I'm just showing you through what it looks like from first person view, and then this is what you missed, so I'm just showing you what I did in the big greenhouse. It's not much. I used like a wood piece to line the plants, and then added soil to add the plants, and then I just like put them in like kind of rows. I think it looks quite good. And then at this bit I added big planters and put trees in them. And then in the other greenhouse I wasn't quite sure what to do, so I added like a pond and did water plants in them. I also put some pallets of plants which we have in the garden centre. I just copied it out of the garden centre. I just thought it looked a bit plain, so I wanted to add a bit more. Maybe that's just like storage. And then this is inside the staff building. Oh, and now I'm just gonna add the visitor greenhouse sign on the front, so you know that visitors can go in there. I know it's like they won't walk on the staff ones because it's staff greenhouse. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to help grow the channel, and so I can bring more videos like this to you every Sunday. Bye. Today we're going to be adding to the gardens with the addition of Japanese gardens. I'm just terraforming a lake, just getting a basic shape here. In a minute I push over all the hanging edges, and I'm just flattening to get a rough shape of where it's going to be. I left a little bump in the lake just to make sure it's not perfect, and then I use the flatten to surface tool to make a nice ramp, because we are going to have animals in the Japanese gardens. Just added the water there. I like how the surface is a bit bumpy, and what I'm now going to do is I'm going to lay out terrain for a kind of river which does a loop. They don't connect because they're going to be two separate water levels, but they're going to be joined with waterfall pieces, and I'm going to cover up the edges with rocks. So I'm just dropping in the first one here and the second one, and then those wooden or stone edges get covered with rocks in a minute. I'm just going to lay out the path here. I was deciding what path to go with. I decided to go with a null path in the end with wooden curb to like lay out the path, and then I paint the terrain on by hand. I use like smooth soil, and what I'm just doing now is I'm gonna smooth all the edge of a river, because it was all a bit bumpy and I'm not quite sure why, but it was not looking good. So that's what I did. I also complicated the shape a bit. I added in a bridge, and I was just choosing what terrain to go with for the base of the Japanese gardens. In the end, I changed it all to soil, and this is the curb I was talking about with the wooden bits. And now I'm just going to change it all to rough soil, and then the path is going to be smooth soil or fine or whatever it's called. And then I'm just extending the path and does a loop, and what it's going to do is it's going to link with the butterfly gardens on the other side. So here it's just going to link, but we link them next episode because the episode was going on quite a lot, and I kind of had to split it into two parts to keep it a reasonable length for a video. I was just laying out the path with the terrain there, and then I'm adding a palette here for what plants I'm going to use. I try to use known Japanese plants, but then I had to use different plants for some of the stuff because we're kind of very limited in Planet Zoo of Japanese plants. So I'm using cherry blossom trees here, and I'm just gonna lay it out so you get a nice view of it reflecting in the river there, and then I'm gonna lay out these Japanese maple trees there, and I'm gonna line up half with bamboo and just add more maple trees, and then I'm just gonna add all these other trees. And then what I'm doing here is I'm gonna lay out the whole of this like area with base of this kind of bushy plant, because it was looking a bit plain, and I wanted like a base where I can add trees onto. So I was just checking the height was low enough here of the bushes, but I think it's fine. And then start adding trees. So first one I added was bamboo, and then I add loads more here, and then this one I had to move it down a bit because the roots were coming up, but it was alright. Then I was just removing those plants I put in earlier because they were looking a bit out of place. Adding a cherry blossom tree here, and then a Japanese maple. What I'm just doing here is I'm gonna get some rocks to hide the stone surface of the waterfall, and then I also use some rocks to line the surface of the river and make it blend nicely to the terrain, because I was thinking it looks a bit harsh even after doing the smoothing stuff as well. I was just detailing this waterfall here because I still thought it looked a bit plain with all these stones, so I added some to separate it in two. I'm just doing this one here as well. I did similar to the other one, hiding the back, and then adding two dividing stones as well. And now I'm going to separate the river from the terrain. As I said, this is going to be a 2-part build. Next episode comes out next week, so subscribe to don't miss that. And I'm trying to rotate the rocks so it looks more varied and not the same rock copied over and over again. I do the same on both sides, but I do leave some plain because I didn't know whether I was overdoing it, and I thought I was a bit, so there are some plain bits, but I think that's okay and blends nicely together anyway. So I'm just finishing this bit here, and then I copy it around, and then I add it on the other section of the river as well. I do lose some footage later in the episode. I do show you what I did, and you didn't miss much. Just you putting loads of plants in. These rocks I'm just moving closer to the shore because I was thinking the rocks looked a bit too close together and the river was becoming a bit too narrow. That middle island there I do fill with bamboo in a minute, although I think you missed me doing that because I lost the footage. But I've kind of laid out a path with the terrain painting there. I'm not going to put an actual path there because obviously can't walk over the bridge, but it's going to be surrounded in bamboo, and then it's going to be like an opening in the bamboo where they are. This is after you miss the footage, so just showing you what I've done. I think it looks much more built up. I did put loads of bamboo by the entrance because I didn't really want you to see the desert garden from the Japanese garden. I wanted it to look kind of seamless. This is what I was talking about. I did get rid of the dirt path because I thought it was a bit too didn't blend in enough, but I did keep the opening. And then over here, the middle bit right in the centre screen is what you saw me do earlier, but I've added some similar bushes all the way around the side as well, and I've used a blueprint there to add some character to the place, and I've bordered the whole Japanese garden with these bamboo plants. I couldn't add too many of it here because we're right by the border of a map, and obviously you can't place stuff outside the border. I am trying to increase the quality of these videos because the recording software I'm currently using is not the best. I'm trying to find a better one. Anyway, we're going to finish this next episode. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe so don't miss the next episode next week, and it really does help grow the channel. Thanks again. Bye. Today we're going to finish building the Japanese gardens, which we started building in the last episode. If you missed that video, the video's in the top right hand corner now. Let's get into it. Today we're going to be adding the animals to the Japanese gardens, like a whole bamboo border, the whole strip from Japanese gardens to the butterfly gardens, and we're going to connect the two gardens. So what I'm just doing here is I'm going to add a whole like flower bed of these pink orchids, and I'm going to fill it with trees. This is a cherry blossom and Japanese maples, and then these other trees. And then this is the first bush I used last episode. I'm just going to fill this area to the right of the path here, and I'm going to add trees on here as well. It's going to like surround this blueprint here, and it's going to line the path nicely. So these are the bamboo trees I'm going to add here, and then this is what I was talking about. So I'm going to add a whole densely packed forest of bamboo. It's going to help define the border between the Japanese gardens and everywhere else, and it's going to make it so you can't see outside the Japanese gardens, and everything you see is going to be Japanese and Asian themed. The whole of this densely packed tree is going to border the whole gardens, and it's going to go all the way to the butterfly gardens here. I'll add it all the way across, and then it leaves us two sides of a path and like a long strip of soil at the moment now to fill. I'm just adding these kind of bush-like things to add on this side or on the left side of the path, and then I use a bit on the right as well. I left a few gaps randomly. We're going to fill in those with different stuff as well. Just going to extend the path here so guests can walk up to the lake. And in the lake we're going to have red panda as well, so they'll want to do that, and the mechanic will actually make them walk up that path to see them. I'm adding these bushes again here to border the Japanese gardens and across like the edge of the entrance from the butterfly gardens. Adding these pink orchids again here, and then just looking there, I was making sure I was protecting the view of these cherry blossom trees here reflecting in the water, because I thought that was quite an important view, especially in a Japanese themed garden. I thought the ground looked a bit too dark, so I decided to paint it all grass, just in the area where there's no like underlying bush and it's just like empty with trees on. I was just adding the terrain for the path there, and then I'm connecting that path there as well. So now I'm painting the area here, and I'm going to add like a picnic area. So I'm going to add a toilet and some shops and some vending machines and like a picnic benches and a whole picnic area basically. So I was going to use a grid of that, but then it wouldn't line up nicely, so I decided to use the grid off the path, and I would delete some of the path which was interfering with the grid, and then I would add paths separately to connect to the buildings. So I'm just adding the actual takeaway drink and food stuff into a building here. I went with one food and one drink, I think. I can't actually remember what they were. And then I added some vending machines to the side here. I decided to go with both Cosmic Cow ones, and adding some picnic benches. Go with 6 in the end, nice and tightly packed, filling the space nicely. I delete those ones because I thought it was too tightly packed actually, I forgot that. And then I add these singular benches here. And then adding these Japanese maples, just dotting them around, as well as bamboo and other trees. Just basically filling in the whole of the gardens with more trees because it was looking a bit bare. And then I'm going to connect the path to the butterfly gardens, and I'm going to line the path with these bushes which are lining the whole of the butterfly gardens. And then I'm going to add these street lights here to help add some more Asian theming and Japanese feeling into the build. Also like add more of a theme. I then find a nice blueprint to go here. I don't go with this one, I go with like a big palace one, and I sink it into the lake, and I think it goes nicely and adds some life to the lake. I then add like a boat, and the boat also I think helps add life to the lake and make it look like it's being used. Well, there would be life as well, because there'll be the red panda in the trees in the distance as well. I'm just choosing the animals here. I go with a red panda, as I said, and the pangolin. I'm just buying them here. And then I'm gonna add null barriers to lay out the enclosures for them, because red pandas are, according to the game, dangerous animals. They can't be with the guests, well, they probably could in sandbox mode, but I didn't want to, so they're going to be on the island and around the lake, and then the pangolin's going to be walking amongst the people in with the paths. I'm just adding the door here to the enclosure, and then I'm going to hide it with the bushes which are lining the whole of the butterfly garden later. And then I was trying to find a good place to add the gate for the red panda. I decided to go with the one by the bridge in the end, just adding it here. It was very hard to find a spot where it would accept. I was just hiding that gate there. And then this is what it looks like. So here we are walking into the gardens from the butterfly garden. Here's the picnic area we made, and then this is for the lake. And I love how the waterfalls are just in the distance. And then carry on, and some pangolin there. And then we walk through the bushes and Japanese maples. This was quite hard to make, especially given there was not many at all Japanese plants, but I think I've managed it. It's not exactly what a Japanese garden would look like in real life, but it's fairly realistic. And then going past the whole section now of just Japanese maples, here's a nice blueprint here. And then I'm going to go through the bamboo tunnel, and then round the side. This is what we did last episode. There's the big blueprint. There. And then we go around and through here, and then we're going to go over a bridge. So you can see that I've moved a rock over the gate so you can't see it. We're on top of a waterfall now, and you can see all the red pandas all jumping about, which I think is really cool. It just looks so cool just looking at the waterfall here. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episodes of this series, and hope to see you next week for another video. Bye. Today we're going to be adding to the gardens by making a restaurant/cafe by the greenhouses which we built last episode. I'm just building the actual building of the restaurant or cafe here. I lost the footage, so this is just me recording it, deleting it, and reversing that footage. I add a picnic area here of grid floor, which I thought this pebble texture was quite nice, so I add loads of picnic benches here where people can eat their picnics or meals. So this building itself is not going to be that popular because there's not many attractions by this building or this area of the gardens. I'm going to hopefully add some more soon, but I'm expanding this area, so this is a step towards that anyway. I'm adding barriers and I'm going to hide them underneath so people don't walk through the glass, because the grids are actually connected, because otherwise you get path finding problems and the paths don't snap towards each other, and then there's just a big gap of grass. So the way to do this is you hide barriers underneath so people don't walk through them, and it should stick to the opening in the walls, which I have no barriers underneath. I'm just adding the roof here. I decided to go with a red one, and then I'm adding in the plaster, which I recolour to the green, which we've got going on in the rest of the building. And obviously this wall's looking a bit bare at the moment, so I had some signs and stuff. I'm kind of getting better at decorating buildings, but this is not perfect by any means. That's something I'm trying to improve on in Planet Zoo, because it is pretty hard with making them look realistic, not overdoing it with windows and signs. So I'm just gonna fill in the roof of the inside of a building so you can't see the roof when you look up. So I'm just gonna add these flat tiles where if you look up it just looks green like the walls. This is quite an effective tactic at hiding the roof from underneath in Planet Zoo. And I'm just gonna recolour more to the green which we've got going on in the rest of the building. So the next episode is episode 20, so I'm going to have a break for a while from this series when City Skylines 2 comes out, and I'm going to focus on that game. But don't worry, it will return. I've got a few big things planned, and I've got a few big things planned for like standalone videos for Planet Zoo as well. So this is the last actual thing we build. Next episode is going to be a tour and a recap, 20th episode special basically. So you just saw me add some windows there, and now I'm just adding signs. I decided to go with these neon ones because I think it demonstrates the food which is being sold there quite nicely and in a simple way. I added all these neon signs, the coffee, the milkshake, the cola bottle, burger, pizza, and I decided to do 2 ice creams because I thought it made a nice effect. I was just deciding on the sign to go here. I decided to go with Cosmic Cattleman, just delete that neon sign underneath because I decided it would go better, because otherwise we would just have a bit of a random gap on that side of the wall. And then obviously I add some more signs around here like I said. So there's some on that back wall which was looking a bit bare, and I'm just going to add the tables now. So these tables fill in this area of the building. And then I had some picnic benches by the gravel path area which I've got, which I think leaves quite a nice effect. But because they're not, they're technically like path extra pieces, you can't get them all straight, so they do look a bit rough, but it's as best as you can do in Planet Zoo. I did try to be quite careful with how I was placing them and making sure they're in a straight line. See, here you can't select multiple at once, so you can't copy them. It is a bit annoying. I wish Planet Zoo would add this feature, but it's alright. So I'm just connecting the picnic area with random paths around there, and that is the finished product. So I hope you liked this video. Don't forget next week's 20th episode special. Thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe to help grow the channel. I'm trying to get to 10 subscribers. Thanks again. Bye. Today is the 20th episode special for the gardens, and for a kind of special episode we're going to have a tour, reflect on what we've done, and we're just watching the cinematic camera go around the gardens at the moment. I have managed to get the quality of the video up with a lot of effort for this video, just because it is the 20th episode and I wanted to show the gardens in its all glory. So that does mean there is quite a lot of cuts because of the computer I was using. For some reason doesn't have the correct Wi-Fi speed to all the other computers in the same router, so I'm not quite sure why that is. So it was lagging, so I had to kind of cut out all the laggy bits, so that is why there's a lot of cuts, and it made the editing process a lot harder, but I wanted to make it special for the 20th episode. So this is the lake we did, and it's got a tiny bit of bubbles. We're actually in the walled gardens at the moment. This was the first section of the gardens we made, and we just entered the butterfly gardens. I'm so pleased with how this all turned out, and all the butterflies moving around and everything. So this is Butterfly House, and back into the Butterfly Gardens. This is actually the back of it, the second part of the Butterfly Gardens which we made, and we're just entering the Japanese gardens here. So this is the little picnic area which we made. So we've got Hot Dog Squad and Cosmic Cow, and then some toilets, and then this is the lake we made, and then if you look carefully, there was a red panda on that rock. So we're just going through the centre of the Japanese garden here. Some Japanese buildings there, and through the bamboo path, and round kind of like does a circle, and then just going over the bridge to where the red panda are, because these are classed as dangerous animals. You have to keep them away from the public, so that's why they're on the island. So now we have entered the desert garden, or the cacti garden, and just going around it here. I'm so pleased with how this turned out, and it kind of immerses you into just this biome. We've got animals walking around and going through all the paths, and then this was the centre of the first section of the Butterfly Gardens, and now we're just going to go to the garden centre and the greenhouses which we made in the last few episodes. So this is the garden centre, and we've got loads of pots there, and here is some of the plants in the greenhouses. That was kind of like the public greenhouse, and then this is like the staff ones where they plant all the plants before they go into the gardens. Here is the cafe which we made last episode. It's all empty at the moment because there's no one here. So this is going to be the end of the series for now. We'll return, but I'm kind of trying to focus on City Skylines 2 for when it comes out. So hope to see you in those videos. I'm really excited for that game. I love how the garden just looks up from up here. So this is the last episode in the series for now, episode 20, and then hopefully we'll make another 20 episodes soon. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to help grow the channel. I'm trying to get to 10 subscribers. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.